Why did Stella meet Robin in the restaurant? What would he do to Stella? Could Julian arrive in time to protect her? Do you want to know what will happen to Stella? Subscribe to us and find out together. Chapter 10 Stella. I woke up at 7:30 and found no sign of Julian in the room. So I wore his black sweatpants but tied them on the side and a brown shirt. His clothes were extra large on me. I like large clothes, I feel more comfortable in them. And the fact that I don't have any clothes didn't give me much of a choice, I can't complain. I headed out of the room after I did my very minimal morning routine, which included brushing my teeth with an unused toothbrush, and combing my hair with my fingers since he did not have a hairbrush. I walked through the enormous house for a good amount of time until I reached the best place ever, the kitchen. I wanted to drink some water, but the smell of a homemade breakfast melted my heart away, and my tummy screamed for the tasty food. I entered the big kitchen, and then I saw a pretty young woman who looked exactly like Julian, except for the fact that she had light freckles on her nose and dark blue eyes. She's either his sister or mother. Gee, good morning, I greeted after a long time of admiring her soft, captivating beauty. She looked at me with a big smile that made me relax, and thank God that she was a woman. Oh, good morning, dear, you must be Stella, am I right? She pulled her hand for me to shake, and I gladly did. I smiled. That's me, I felt shy all of a sudden. She gazed at me for a minute or two, then she led me to the kitchen counter. She handed me a plate that was full of delicious food. Eat, dear, we have a long day ahead of us. Nancy, Julian's mom, while I was enjoying myself, making breakfast for my son's mate. Good morning, I heard a sweet, timid voice from behind me. I looked at the source and saw a very beautiful young girl staring at me. She had beautiful, dazzling gray eyes, pitch black hair, flawless skin, and a tiny, skinny body. Julian was absolutely right. She was stunning with every small feature of hers. I could not believe she went through abuse. Why hurt such a delicate being? My son better keep her safe and happy, or I'll rip him apart. Oh, good morning, dear, you must be Stella, am I right? I asked her as I pulled my hand for her to shake, and she did. She flattered me with a sweet smile. That's me, she replied, lowering her head and averting the eye contact. She was so adorable. Yep, she's good for him. Eat, dear, we have a long day ahead of us. I smiled. I'm Nancy Woods, Julian's mama. I sat across from her. She grabbed a fork and started munching on the waffles and omelets. Hello, Mrs. Woods, it's a pleasure to meet you. She replied politely. Please call me Nancy, I am not that old, I said with a smile. Okay, Nancy. So Stella, tell me about yourself, I pointed out after she put the food in her mouth and let out a joyful moan. I guess she liked it. I'm 18, my parents are dead, and I lived with my brother until yesterday, she answered, slightly uncomfortable at the mention of her psycho brother, and I nodded. You lived? I asked. I knew about her past since Julian told us, but I need her to tell me, to open up to me more. I needed her to like and trust me. She looked at me like she was debating whether to tell me or not. As I wanted to change the topic, she looked at me with such determination and anger. I ran away. I did that last night. That's why I'm here, intruding on you and your son. Sorry. She bowed her head, apologizing. I felt sorry for her and furious at her brother. Do you want to tell me why, or? I trailed off to see her reaction. She nodded weakly. He abused me for more than 8 years. I lost track of the time. He wanted to sell my body to some of his friends yesterday, but I didn't allow it. Due to that, I ran away from them and ended up here under Julian's protection, which I'm very grateful for, she explained, and I smiled at my son's behavior and at the fact that she actually told me her story. I raised you well, Jojo. I hugged her, reassuring her that she was safe now. Honey, I'm so sorry for that. I bet you don't have clothes with you, am I right? I asked her, hoping for a yes. Well, I didn't get the chance to pack anything with me. In fact, I came here almost naked, and it was super awkward since there were a lot of men in this house, she said, and I nodded, grabbing her arms gently and dragging her to the main door. Okay, we will get you something to wear. No, you don't have to, I'm not staying here anyway. I chuckled. She thinks that Jojo will let her go away that easily. You can try, but it will never work. Yes, we do. And you are staying here since you are family now. I'm not taking a no for an answer. Come on, Stella. I opened the door and held the car keys. Do you mind if we get my niece to ride with us? She's your age and she loves shopping. I asked her as we sat in my black Mustang. No, not at all. We are here, let's wait for her, I said after I pulled over to my niece's mate's house. She was Cody's mate. She was so sweet and energetic. Okay, Stella nodded. I guess she was not completely comfortable around us, which was understandable, but I hoped that she would warm up sooner than later. After silently waiting in the car, my niece decided to show up. I smiled as I saw her getting out of the house. No way. Stella's whisper brought my attention back to her. What's wrong? I asked, concerned. She did not reply, and she just kept staring at her. When she opened the car door and saw Stella, they both froze on the spot. Stella. Skye. Stella stated, shocked if I must add. What's going on? Chapter 11. Stella. Skye. I was utterly shocked to see my best friend in the same car as me. I stared at her, then I found myself asking this idiotic question. You're Julian's cousin. How can that slip my mind? She has the same last name as Julian. Skye Woods. Why yes, Stella, what are you doing here? You know Julian. Aunt Nancy, is she? I waited for a few minutes because she looked at Nancy and Nancy nodded with a smile. Am I missing something? They looked like they were having a telepathic conversation or something. Well, it's a long story, I explained in short, and she just eyed me for a while. It felt weird to see my best friend with the new people. They were obviously her family, and I felt like an outsider again. Skye finally laid her back in the car seat and crossed her arms. We have some talking to do tonight, she remarked, and I sighed, knowing I could not hide my bitter reality from her forever. The secret was out, and I hope she does not get mad at me for not telling her. It was for her own safety. I did not know what Raymond would do to her if she knew. Nancy ignited the engine and took off. We sat there in silence until she broke it. So are you two friends? Nancy asked, then looked at me from the corner of her eyes. Best friends. Skye and I said in unison, then we smiled. Nothing has changed between us, and I'd like to keep it that way. How nice, what a small world we live in, isn't that right, Skye? Nancy directed her question to her, suggesting something else in her tone. I did not ask because I did not want to pry. Yeah. Skye whispered, and we fell into an awkward silence. Again. All right, girls, our mission is to buy Stella a new closet. Clothes, shoes, makeup. Nancy started listing to us, but I interrupted her, feeling triggered by what she said. I shook my head. No makeup, never. Please. I desperately requested, and they looked at me in confusion. Why not? Skye asked, linking her arms with mine. Because I don't like how I look with makeup on. I hate makeup because Raymond forced me once to put it on when his buddies beat the crap out of me, so it got stuck in my head as a trigger for their brutal abuse. They broke 2 ribs and bruised my stomach and back so badly that I had to crawl to bed. I am sure you would look more beautiful, but that's your call. Now let's begin. Nancy linked my other arm with hers, and we entered the mall only to be flashed by the smell of all kinds of perfumes and new clothes. It smelled fresh. New. Like everything I never had after the age of 10. We don't have to buy a lot, I just need one outfit, besides the one that I'm wearing right now, which belongs to Julian. I pointed out, then looked at myself in the mirror. We were in a cute store. It was my first time entering this shop. I never got the chance to shop with others, I just shopped once every 3 years with Raymond's clutch on my body. He would tell me to wait outside a store, and then would pick an oversized sweater or shirt, so that I looked presentable in school. He did not want me to draw unwanted attention to the situation at him. He was being nice. But I had to stay quiet every time I go out with him and not complain, because then I would not ever get anything to wear. He was being nice since he could not hit me in public. Nonsense, you literally have nothing with you. Nancy protested and looked at my reflection in the mirror. I don't deserve this attention from a stranger. Okay. Now I'm super curious, I want you to tell me everything in detail. Skye crossed her arms with a pout. I'll tell you everything, but not now. Promise. I ended up with 10 hoodies, 10 pairs of jeans and leggings, 10 shirts, 5 pairs of shoes, plus 3 unnecessary casual dresses and 1 elegant dress. And undergarments. I was overwhelmed by the bags we had to carry, and guilty when I looked at the price tags. I could never repay them. Not in the near future, at least. I had nothing. They were so generous and stubborn, and I eventually let them do whatever they wanted. They seemed genuinely happy to buy me stuff, and I felt like I belonged. Okay, who's ready to eat? Skye asked, and we nodded. I looked at the clock, it was 3 in the afternoon. They also bought me a new phone. I felt so bad accepting it, but they insisted, saying, and I quote, "How can we contact you without a phone?" "I would like to have a burger and an orange juice, please," Skye ordered, and the waiter wrote everything down on his small board. Then he looked at me with a bright smile. "And you, ma'am?" he asked politely. "I'll get the same without the orange juice, please." "A cup of water will do," I replied. Then he looked at Nancy after writing down my order. "I'll get chicken wings plus Caesar salad and grape juice," Nancy ordered. "Coming right up," he said. Then took off to another customer who was waiting eagerly. "Are you staying in the family house?" Skye asked me while putting her elbows on the table. Then she rested her chin on her palms. She looked like Cinderella when she was staring at the sky from her room's only window. Beautiful. I don't know," I replied, looking at my lap and playing with my fingers. "I have nowhere to go. Of course she will stay there. She is now a part of the family, the Woods family," Nancy pointed out with a genuine big happy smile. I felt defeated and weak yet relieved at the same time. I just nodded without saying any other word. After a while of chatting about random topics, our orders came with the same nice waiter. "Ladies, I hope you have a wonderful meal and bon appetit," he said. Then walked away, leaving us admiring the delicious, tasty food. "Shall we begin?" Nancy giggled and I smiled. I nodded, feeling less guilty about the money that they wasted on me, and Skye clapped her hands together. "We shall," she replied, and we ate our food in peace. Or so I thought. "Not him," I muttered when I saw him entering the restaurant. "He can't see me," I whispered real low. But it turned out not low enough because Nancy and Skye heard me. "What's wrong?" they asked, and I just stared at him with a shocked, panicked expression. He's not supposed to see me," I stuttered, but more to myself than them. "Who?" Nancy asked. "Is it Raymond?" She placed her hand on my shoulder. I shook my head with fear. "No." As I replied, he turned his head and saw me. He smirked slyly, making me remember one of the worst assaults I had. Why, everything reminds me of the abuse. He approached me fast. Well. Look who's here." "Stella." "The Stella," he said in his hoarse, creepy, and unpleasant voice. Chapter 12. Stella. I gagged at his touch. He put his hand on my free shoulder and I tensed. I looked at Nancy's eyes, pleading for any kind of help she could provide. "What are you thinking, Stella? She'll be in danger if she gets involved." "Who are you?" Nancy asked in an intimidating, calm tone. He looked at her, frowning, then he faked a smile like he used to do. "Oh, sorry for not introducing myself earlier. I'm Robin, her brother's best friend." "Nice to meet you, lovely lady." He tried to grab her hand to kiss her knuckles, but she removed it from his. "Disgusting shit. He's acting like a gentleman now. Leave us alone." She glared at him, not fazed by his huge build. Maybe she understood that him being Raymond's best friend was not good for me, or anyone else. He was a malignant, selfish, two-faced jerk. I used to get disgusted whenever Raymond mentioned him. He still disgusts me to the bones. Why should I? She knows me very well, isn't that right, Stella? And Raymond has been searching for you. He was worried sick. He gazed at me with a blank face. Worried sick. That's a new one. He's sick, all right. I felt fear rise inside of my tiny bruised body when Robin grabbed my wrist by force, yanking me forward. I do know him too well. He was a monster like my so-called brother. He used to co-abuse me whenever he visited Raymond. One time, Raymond was at work when Robin decided to pay me a visit. I was all alone. Alone with him in my room, screaming for help, praying for the hits to stop. I kept shouting with the tiny little hope that someone would hear me and give me the helping hand that I sought for a long time back then. Just for a split second, I hoped for Raymond to come and help me, but the world was not fair, my life was not fair. Raymond came indeed to my room, saw his best friend abuse and beat the crap out of me, yet he said nothing. He just kept watching him playing his sadistic game. Absolute torture. They were both sadistic psychopaths. Not a chance she's going with you. Now get the hell out of here. Skye's voice interrupted my train of bitter thoughts, and I took a deep breath. I guess she took the hint that I was unreasonably terrified of him. Anyone could notice when my pale and panicked expression. I want to go back, I whispered to Nancy, and she nodded with a firm look on her beautiful face. If you don't want to leave, then we will, Nancy exclaimed, then grabbed my hands, and we headed to the entrance after paying for the food that was barely half eaten. It will go to waste because of Robin. Oh no, she's coming with me. Robin approached me, aiming for my elbow, but Skye blocked him by shoving his body aside. She was strong. Way too strong. When did that happen? Don't touch her ever again. She raised her voice, catching some customers' attention along with the kind waiter. They looked worried. Move, you bitch. As Robin wanted to slap Skye, a man's hand stopped him by grabbing his hand at the last moment. I looked at him, then realized that I saw him in Julian's house. I think his name was Cody, Julian's best friend. He had dirty blonde hair and brown eyes. He was good looking but not as much as Julian. What the hell I'm thinking about at such a time? Don't you dare touch what's mine, Cody yelled at him, then twisted his arm and finally, he fell to the ground groaning in pain. Cody is Skye's boyfriend. She never told me she had one. But then again, I never told her I was abused. Cody turned his gaze to Skye, and he looked mad and anxious. Are you okay, love? He hugged her protectively. They looked nice together. They suit each other. Yeah, I'm all right. I could have handled him alone, you know. Skye commented with a grin. Cody raised his eyebrows then laughed. Sure, whatever helps you sleep at night. In my arms. He winked at her and she turned red like a tomato. I cooed uncontrollably, and that made the couple look at me. Olu and Stella, are you okay? Cody asked me as he stepped closer to me. I nodded with a smile. I guess I was famous after that break-in. I believe we haven't officially met yet. I'm Cody, Julian's best friend, and Skye's my boyfriend. He held his hand for me to shake. As I was about to do that, I saw Robin from the corner of my eye, holding a chair and aiming it at me. I shielded my head with my fragile arms, embracing for the impact, but nothing came. I just heard glass shattering and chairs breaking. I opened my eyes to be greeted by a large figure standing in front of me, just like before. Julian. I looked at the floor and saw Robin lying unconscious with a bloodied face and broken arms. You'll think twice before hurting my mate. She is mine, he said, and I arched my eyebrows in confusion. Mate, as a friend, and I am his. What was going on? He turned to look at me, checking for any injury. When he saw none, he let out a soft breath. Thank God. He put his head on my shoulder, inhaling my scent, or what I assumed he did. I sighed in contentment. Don't worry, I'm okay, I whispered. He raised his head and looked at me with his dazzling honey eyes. I got scared for a minute when I saw that he was about to hit you with the damn chair, he said, and I put my hand in his. What's this pull? Is it normal to feel like that? For a stranger that I met yesterday. I'm feeling things I can't quite describe, though they are good feelings. What are you doing here? I asked as we exited the restaurant and entered the car that was filled with bags. Cody took Robin, who was still unconscious somewhere, and when I asked, Julian said not to worry about him anymore. I'm here because Mom called me, saying that your brother's friend was here, so here I am, he explained. Rather too fast. How did you make it in time? I asked, feeling more comfortable with him by the moment. It's like I've known him for years. Like we were meant to be. What I'm talking about. I'm probably losing it. I rode with him, and Nancy took Skye home after saying goodbye. He looked at me for a second. Then he turned his gaze to the road. I was near, he reasoned, and I nodded, exhausted from today's events. Can't just one day be normal for me? Is that too much to ask for? As I was thinking of my messed up life, I felt my eyelids become heavy, and it was hard keeping them open. So darkness took over, and I was in nightmare land. My past horrible life with Raymond. Chapter 13. Julian. I was with Dad, dealing with Joey's new appearance when Mom mind linked me. She told me that some guy named Robin would not leave my beautiful mate alone. He was friends with her sick of a bastard brother. I got furious when I replayed these words in my head, making me lose control over my wolf, Peter, and shift. He was running faster than I had ever felt while grabbing my clothes in his fangs. I did not want to walk naked into the mall. I'm gonna kill that bitch. He touches her, he dies. Peter growled. I am giving you my blessing because if you don't kill him, I will. I saw the restaurant and some humans, forcing Peter to shift back. I wore my clothes, but Peter remained in control. That should be good. We entered the restaurant to see a scene that made my blood boil with fury. A prick of a man was about to swing a chair at Stella, and when she saw him, she shielded herself, holding her hands to her head, waiting for the blow. I regained control of my body and dashed to her rescue. Before I could talk with anyone, my fists found their way to his jaw and nose. I heard cracking sounds that made me smile with satisfaction. His ugly face became uglier. No one hurts what's mine and gets away with it. He was shocked at first but then tried to fight back once he realized that I was fighting for her. "Time for fun," Peter commented, and I smirked. The man tried to punch me, but he was way too slow and unfocused. I held his hands and lifted him up in the air like he was a sack of potatoes. I grinned, then tossed him to a nearby table that had cups of glass on it. It shattered into small pieces. The man hit his head and nose again on his way down, and that caused blood to be painted all over his broken face. Good. After seeing his lifeless body, I breathed slowly, getting calmer by the moment. A couple of police officers who were part of my pack came and dealt with the scene. I looked at Mom and she smiled, nodding proudly at me. I turned my head to her left to see my precious mate standing still. She looked puzzled by me, but I did not care. I just hugged her tightly but gently. I breathed in her tasty sweet scent that made my wolf howl with pleasure. After we got home, I led Stella to my room to take a warm long shower. "Thank you for today. It's only my second day here, and you have already saved me twice. I'm a burden." She looked down with a pout. "She's cute and innocent," Peter said, and I nodded. "I absolutely agree with you," I replied. Then my hand found its way to lift her chin up gently. I smiled. "No, you are not a burden. You are my mate. I love helping you. You are sweet, innocent, and shy. So no need to thank me. You are part of my family now." I told her my feelings while touching her soft cheek. "You do realize that you just called her mate, right?" Peter pointed out, and my eyes widened. "Oh shit." As she wanted to comment on what I had just said, I walked her to the bathroom. "Now go take a long shower, clear your mind so we can watch movies later all night long with some pizza," I said, and saw her eyes sparkle a little bit. Good, she forgot. Hopefully I'll just tell her when the time is right. "Really? Wait, but I just ate." She pouted, looking as cute as ever. I noticed that she gets worried about irrelevant things, and I needed to let her understand that whatever she wants, she gets. "Doesn't matter, now go." I closed the door behind her after handing her my shirt and sweatpants. Apparently, she forgot to buy pajamas. "Okay," she said, and I got out of my bedroom to the living room. As I entered, I saw some of the pack members shouting over the TV screen. "Guys." I yelled over the shouting because clapping my hands did not work. They stopped their frenzy and looked at me with respect. "Alpha," they replied. "I hate to do this to you, but I need you to get out for a day," I said, and they actually whined. Full-grown-ass men whining. We have a good relationship. It was not just the Alpha and his pack members. It was me and my friends. They are all my friends here, and I respect them and they respect me. My pack is so big it has more than 700 members, but I literally know each one of them. I love my pack, and I was ready to be their legit alpha now that I had found my mate. They called me Alpha now out of respect, but we all knew that I needed my mate so it could become official. "Guys, please. I need some alone time with my mate, to explain things to her. So, can you leave and come back when I mind link you?" I asked. "If they do not agree, kick their asses," Peter suggested, and it was not a bad idea. They looked at each other, then smiled. "Yes, Julian. If they ever call me by my name like that, it meant that they were happy for me and ready to support me. They know how much I have waited for Stella, and they understand that." "Thank you guys," I smiled brightly. "You have to introduce her to us officially," Alexander, one of my closest friends, remarked, and I nodded. "Sure thing, just whenever she's ready." With that, they all left, leaving me alone in the big house with her. "We gotta drop some hints that you are a werewolf," Peter commented, and I rolled my eyes. That sassy wolf, why does he think that I want to be alone with her? After some time of setting things up, I heard Stella call my name. "I'm in the living room," I said, and waited for her. I heard her small feet making contact with the stairs, and I wanted to embrace her so tightly that she became a part of me. "There are other ways she can become a part of you." Peter's smirk made me roll my eyes, but the horny wolf was not wrong. Stella showed up wearing my clothes in the living room, making her look even sexier. "Hey," she waved. Then she sat on the beanbag chair. "Hi, the pizza will be here in about 10 minutes. I'll start a movie, is that okay with you?" I asked, grabbing the remote control. She nodded. "What do you want to watch?" I asked her, and she shrugged her shoulders. I looked through the movies, then found one that she might like. How about 10 Things I Hate About You? I asked and she nodded. Sounds cool. Chapter 14 Stella. The pizza arrived after about 15 minutes of starting the movie. I did not mind watching this movie because I actually did not know the plot. I have not watched movies ever since the abuse started. I was not allowed to, seeing as it might make me smile, and smiling was not allowed in the house based on Raymond. He was so messed up in the head beyond repair. I used to see and hear a lot of my classmates talking about famous movies, actors, actresses, and when they asked me if I had watched any of them, I would always lie saying, I'm not a fan. So I found my escape through books, old ones that my parents used to own. I was not allowed to buy new books either. I learned to love and cherish them, mainly because they belonged to my parents. I learned to find my peace while drowning in the world of fantasy and love. I do not think I'll ever get the chance to experience true love. I'm dying alone, isn't that right? Mom, Dad, how do you like the movie so far, Stella? Julian asked, bringing me back to reality. Huh. I raised my eyebrows in confusion because I did not hear him. I was not paying any attention. Typical of me. I said, how do you like the movie so far? He asked again with a smile. Oh, it's cool, I replied, not knowing what to say next. He stared at the TV with a slice of pizza in his hand. I wanted to ask why his eye color changed when he hugged me a while back. Julian, I trailed off, grabbing back his attention. Yes, he said, waiting for me to speak. Why did your eye color change? I asked. What do you mean? He asked, acting clueless. I'm not buying that. Your eye color, they changed from honey to dark brown and almost black, I know you know. I crossed my arms. I want to know something about him. Last time I checked, he knows a lot about me. Oh, that. Ha, he rubbed the nape of his neck, averting eye contact. He would not go off easily. It was only fair I know something about him. Yeah. Well, it's complicated. I think it's not the best time to tell you, he reasoned, and I nodded, not buying his bullshit. Okay, that got me more curious now. Okay, what about your growling? Why do you always growl when you're angry? I crossed my legs, making myself look more intimidating. He sat the same way, facing me. And that I can't tell you right now, but I promise that I'll tell you when the time is right because I don't want you to freak out, he explained, and I arched my eyebrows. Why would I freak out? Wait, you are not a vampire, are you? I asked, being dead serious. I read a lot of vampire books in the public library to the point of me believing they exist. No one could judge me because if anyone were in my shoes, they would want to believe in something other than the abuse. Julian looked at me like I grew two heads, but he actually looked offended. No, I'm not a vampire, he replied as he rolled his eyes. This was the first time I see him this comfortable acting goofy around me. Anyway, let's continue the movie, he added while handing me a slice of pizza. After we finished 2 movies, he insisted that we should watch the last song, saying that I would love it, and I did. It was safe to say that my favorite genre was romance. I felt really tired and wanted to sleep. Julian, I think I'll go and sleep, I announced as I stood up really fast, which was a bad idea because I felt so dizzy, making me lose my balance. I waited for my head to slam into the floor, but I did not fall. Julian had his muscular arms around me in an instant, supporting me with my wobbly legs. Are you okay? He asked, the worry reflecting all over his handsome face. He looked like a painting out of a museum, so perfect in his imperfections. I noticed that his nose was slightly crooked, probably from a fight, and he had a small scar on his jaw. He was captivating. I stood up with much more balance. Yes, I just felt a little dizzy. Don't worry, I reassured him with a smile. As I wanted to walk away, he scooped me in his arms and carried me bridal style to the room that he said I could sleep in. What are you doing? P, put me down, I stuttered, feeling my cheeks get warm by the second. I did not hate that he was able to swoop me so easily, but it had only been 2 days since I met him, and he was acting like we have been living together for years. Curse this mysterious pull. Nope, I'll take you there myself. Who knows, you might fall on your way up the stairs, he cleared firmly, and I felt defeated. Or I wanted to feel defeated. To carry me. I sighed, resting my arms on his chest. I looked up at his face and he was so focused on the way ahead. What? He suddenly asked, looking at me confused. What? I returned the question. Why are you staring? I can feel your gaze on me, he pointed out, and I felt my cheeks warm up. Oh God, this is so embarrassing. I wasn't staring. He muttered, not believing me. I would not believe me either. I was totally staring at him. Anyway, put me down. I can walk. I changed the subject. He looked at me with his beautiful clear honey eyes. No. As we entered the room, he put me on the bed and made his way out of the big room. I don't deserve all this. It's too good. Julian is too nice. Or is that just a mask? It was 3 days later when I sniffed the air in my sleep and smelled smoke. I rose from the bed and looked around me to see nothing, no fire, no smoke, but I saw a red light reflecting through the window on the bedroom wall. I got closer to the window and saw the garden on fire. The fire was already eating up everything there, and it was making its way to the house. I ran outside of the room and started yelling fire. But not just me, Julian was yelling at the top of his lungs, and sometimes his eyes would get foggy. It was not the time to question it. Everyone who was in their rooms got out with panicked expressions. I saw Julian running toward the back door where the fire was. Julian held the fire extinguisher and handed another two to his men. Come on. The fire is getting closer to the house. Someone call the fire department. Julian ordered firmly. I ran behind him wanting to help. Julian, what should I do? He stopped in his tracks and turned to face me. Nothing, you stay at the front door until the firefighters get here. Outside, please, where there is no fire. Don't say no and go. I beg you, he replied, almost yelling because of the noise, and I nodded. No point in arguing. But I wanted to help. I ran in the opposite direction. I saw all the men running to the fire. I don't want them to get hurt. I looked at the time and it was almost 3 in the morning. As I opened the main door, I was greeted by an arrow that stopped near my head and got stuck on the door frame. I gulped and then looked at the arrow in shock. It had a letter attached to it. Chapter 15, Stella. I took the letter from the arrow and tore it open to read words written in blood. People still do that. I started reading it but felt scared and confused at the same time. Julian, I know you hate me, and I can't blame you for that because I detest you in every possible way. You may become the alpha after you've found your mate, who is so beautifully weak, by the way. I will destroy you. Destroy your family. Destroy your pack. The Greymont pack will sink into the darkness of the evil world. My world. P.S. I hope the fire has lightened up your dark night a bit. I was shaking so hard to the point of dropping the letter on the floor, and my vision got blurry. A minute later, I snapped out of my daze and grabbed it once again, and headed back to Julian. I have to warn him. I ran at full speed, and since I was naturally fast and ran track, I got there in no time. I looked around me and saw all the men trying to put down the fire, or at least calm the flames until the firefighters got there. Where the hell are they? I searched for Julian through the big crowd. Then I spotted him standing near the long hoses. Thank God he's tall. I dashed towards him. When he saw me running, he let go of the hoses with a frantic expression and opened his arms. I wasted no time and embraced him. Well, he embraced me. I looked at his hands and face and saw scratches and a small amount of blood and smoke on his forehead. He's hurt. What the hell are you doing here? I told you to run to safety, Stella. He yelled through the loud noise. I felt intimidated by him for a split second but shook the feeling and gazed at him with so much confidence. I know, but there was an arrow on the door frame. I found this letter attached to it. I showed it to him. He started reading it, but with every word that he read, he growled more and more. Okay, he's scary at the moment and I'll not piss him off. Did you see anyone suspicious? He asked me as he put the letter in his pocket. I shook my head. No, and even if there was any, it would be hard to see them through the smoke and darkness, I reasoned. He nodded, then started leading me to safety. I stopped and he looked at me confused. Why did you stop? I want to help, I stated. He huffed, then grabbed my arm. No, you are not staying here. Now come with me, he ordered, but I did not move. Come on, Stella. Let's go, he demanded in a higher tone. Yet I didn't move. I want to help, I can't just stand there without doing anything. I can't just hide from the fire and let you get hurt, I want to be useful. You have been kind to me, you accepted me with all my flaws. I want to at least repay you, and you know that I can't with money, but I can with this. Let me hell, I did not get to finish my sentence because Julian's lips landed on mine with so much force. What just happened? I blinked, closed my eyes, then got back to reality and looked at Julian. I felt demand, need, and affection, which was absolutely bizarre since we had not known each other for a long time. It had not been a week. I did not dare push him away, my hands and legs were weak. I thank God he was holding my hands or else I would fall. I felt great sparks. I felt the warmth radiating from his massive body. I did not want to move but I had to because I heard sirens. Julian looked at me with a genuine smile. Guess you don't have to help after all. The firefighters are here now, so relax. The fire will be put down in no time. Let's get you to clean your face, you have a lot of smoke on it, he said, and I felt dumbfounded by him. Is he ignoring the fact that he just kissed me? That was my ever-true first kiss. Once I was forced to kiss Robin and I felt sick for days. Stella. Julian nudged my shoulder gently. Yeah. I was too distracted by the kiss that I did not notice Cody, who was standing in front of us with a smirk on his face. What? I asked him with arched eyebrows. Oh my God. Did he see the kiss? You had a moment there, he stated with humor filling his tone. I rolled my eyes but felt my cheeks get warm. Not from the fire. This is so embarrassing. Why did he kiss me? I'm not special, I have nothing. I literally broke into his house and caused a scene. I'm a magnet for trouble and danger. So why kiss me? Come on, Stella. Let's go. He held my hand and led me to the house. I looked behind me and saw that the fire almost subsided. Good. No one was badly injured. I fastened my steps to match Julian's. He walked too fast and he was tall. We entered the house to see a big chaos. The house was a mess. Blankets everywhere, pillows on the floor. Looks like we got some cleaning to do, I said, and Julian sighed. Time to clean. Let me ask again. Why did he kiss me? Chapter 16 Julian. When I saw her running towards me through the smoke, I lost it. I had to protect her soul and body, and her being out here made it difficult for me to do so. What is she doing here? Peter asked. Then I saw a piece of paper in her hand. I have no idea, I replied. Then I opened my arms for her, not expecting her to accept my embrace. But to my delight, she dove right in. I felt sparks from her warm and delicate touch. Peter howled, feeling content and satisfied. What the hell are you doing here? I told you to run to safety, Stella. She looked at me, and I saw the determination in her stunning, unique gray eyes. They looked like fire due to the reflection of the actual fire, and they told a million stories. I know, but there was an arrow on the door frame. I found this letter attached to it. She handed it to me and I started reading it. The words got me agitated that I wanted to shift into my wolf form and start running into the woods, but I was wiser than my impulses. Most of the time. That's fucking Joey, Peter commented. Yes, I know. I'll have to talk with his dad and my dad first thing tomorrow morning, I said, then blocked Peter because his growling in my head was becoming unbearable, especially with all the commotion. Did you see anyone suspicious? I asked as I put the letter in my pocket. I need to show it to my uncle. Stella is in danger now because of my family and not hers. I can't risk her safety. She shook her head. No, and even if there was any, it would be hard to see them through the smoke and darkness. I nodded, then started leading her to safety, but she suddenly stopped and looked at me. Why did you stop? I asked her, confused and eager to move again. I want to help, she stated stubbornly. I huffed, annoyed and tired from all this shit in my life. Not her, but the circumstances. I just want to sleep with her in my arms. No, you are not. Now come with me, you can't stay here. She will be a perfect Luna because she can make you restless, Peter commented, and I ignored him. Like seriously now? Come on, Stella. Let's go, I demanded in a higher tone to make her feel a little bit intimidated. Yet she did not move an inch. I admired her stance, but it was not the time. I glared at her, wanting to carry her on my shoulders, but she started talking, making me pause my plan. I want to help, I can't just stand there without doing anything, I can't just hide from the fire, I want to be useful. You have been kind to me, you accepted me with all my flaws. I want to at least repay you, and you know that I can't with money, but I can with this. Let me hell, I got irritated from her long speech, so I did the only thing that came to my mind. I kissed her so she could shut her pretty little mouth. Yeah, just to shut her up, Peter popped in my head and I rolled my eyes. She was mine and mine only. You need to tell her about us, Peter remarked, and I thought about it. When the time is right, I replied and kissed her deeper. I swear that her touches were like magnets. The sparks were amazing. I craved more, but sadly, she pushed me away gently when she heard the sirens. Perfect timing. I looked at her with a genuine smile. Guess you don't have to help after all. The firefighters are here now, so relax. The fire will be put down in no time. Let's get you to clean your face, you have a lot of smoke on it, I said, trying to change the subject. If we talked about the kiss now, it would be awkward for me to look into her eyes. That was my first kiss. The only woman who kissed me on the cheeks was my mom. I'm afraid that she will hate me after this, and I don't want that. I can't live without her. I looked up to see Cody standing there smirking like a freak. Stella. I nudged her shoulder gently to grab her attention. Yeah, she said, then looked at Cody and her cheeks turned bright red. What? She asked him with arched eyebrows. He saw us for sure. You had a moment there, Cody stated. I rolled my eyes at him. Come on, Stella. Let's go. I held her hand and led her to the house. She looked behind for a second, then turned back. She's worried about my pack members. She has Luna instincts in her. Peter was right. We entered the house to see the big chaos. The house was a mess. A big mess that needed to be cleaned. Blankets were everywhere, pillows on the floor, even food. Who was eating at this hour? Not that I really care, but come on, it was 2 in the morning when the fire began. Looks like we got some cleaning to do, she stated, and I sighed. I hate cleaning, but I also hate the mess, so I have no other choice. I woke up the next morning to see myself sleeping on the couch with Stella in my arms. She was so cute, sleeping like a little kitten. We must have fallen asleep right after we finished cleaning. We were so tired that I did not see where I slept. I kissed her forehead and got up. I wrote her a letter that stated my whereabouts and that I would send Skye to keep her company. I will not leave her alone. I called my uncle, Joey's dad, and told him to meet me at Dad's house. My uncle hated Joey after what he did to us, and that was why he would help me find him to deal with his sorry ass. I hope we find him fast so I can kill him for even thinking of hurting Stella. He will pay. Chapter 17, Skye. When I got a call from Julian, he told me he wanted to speak with our uncle about an important matter related to Joey. He asked if I could stay with Stella while he was away, and I was more than thrilled to hang out with my best friend outside of school. I made her breakfast, seeing as she was still sleeping, and looked exhausted from yesterday's events. Even though we were best friends, she never told me about her situation, nor how did she end up in my cousin's house. I was elated when I learned that she was Julian's mate and our future Luna, but how did they meet was what bugging me. When I asked Aunt Nancy, she told me that it was not her story to tell, and I kind of felt hurt that I did not know about what was going on in her life. I would wait for her to open up to me and trust me with her secrets. As I was thinking of what could her secrets be, Stella stood near the counter, rubbing the sleep from her unique gray eyes. I smiled. Good morning, sleepyhead. Did you enjoy your dreams? I asked while flipping the pancakes. They landed perfectly on the big plate. Nailed it, I commented happily and saw Stella with a wide smile. That was awesome and good morning. Did Julian send you to babysit? She joked as she sat on a chair near the fridge. Yeah, and I miss my best girl. I want to spend some alone time with you. Don't think I forgot, you owe me an explanation, young lady. I pointed the spoon at her face with a smirk. She sighed and whispered something very low, even my ears did not catch. My wolf got irritated that her high sense of hearing did not work here. Okay, but I need to eat first, she said, and I handed her some pancakes. I sat next to her, texting Cody, telling him my whereabouts. I did not want him to worry and go berserk. I hope you liked your food. Are you kidding? This is amazing. When did you learn to cook? You sucked at everything related to housing stuff. I rolled my eyes. Oh please, I always knew how to cook. I was just hiding my talent and giving other people the opportunity to shine, I reasoned. It was just pancakes. A couple of seconds later we burst out laughing. She knew that I suck at everything related to being wife material, but I did not want to agree. Are your new talents for your boyfriend? She asked, and I felt my cheeks heat up. Darn, she's smart. Except he's not just my boyfriend. He's my mate, my one and only love. I can't tell her that until Julian tells her the truth about him. Yeah, I really love him, I replied honestly as we got up and headed to her room. I really give credit to Julian for being patient with her. It was hard for mates not to come in physical contact with each other as soon as they saw each other. Julian was strong, but he could not last more than a month without touching her. To be more precise, marking her. To let everyone knows that she was his mate and Luna. "Ah, I wish you all the best and to live happily ever after with him," Stella prayed, and I giggled. "Thank you. Now enough about me, let's talk about you, Stella," I said as we sat on the couch facing each other. She sighed. "Okay, what do you want to know? Start with you being in my cousin's house. I'm not being rude or anything, but I need to know." "You are always welcome here," I cleared. A few seconds passed and she looked determined. "Do you remember my brother Raymond? What about him? I never liked him. He was weird." "He's not the ideal brother you might think he is," she said. And I wanted to correct her by saying that I never thought of him as ideal, but let her finish. "Raymond is abusive. That son of a bitch." "Elaborate, please." "He hit you?" I asked, getting angry and ready to kill. Even my wolf got mad since she was our future Luna. She averted her eyes and sighed. "Yes, and not just your typical domestic violence. He always found new ways to torture me for his own pleasure. Oh, if I see him. I felt off when I saw him once. Never liked him. How could he do that to you? That sick fucking bastard." I raised my tone, surprising her in the process. "Sorry, but since when? When did it all start?" "I received my first beating when I was 10. The abuse lasted until I escaped and ended up here by chance." My eyes widened. I was an awful friend for not noticing anything odd. How did I miss the signs? 8 years. Why the fuck you didn't say anything? I've been your best friend and sister for years. How can you not tell me? I could have helped. "I will tear his body to pieces if I see him, Skye." My wolf growled in my head, and I understood her rage. I got scared. He threatened to hurt whoever I told, so I stayed quiet for years. "I did not want to drag anyone with me," she replied, and I felt angry at myself. She was always smiling. She always gave the feeling that she was a strong, independent and happy girl. I'm such a terrible sister. I did not realize I was crying until she wiped my tears. She was abused and I was crying. "Woman up, Skye. Don't cry," she whispered soothingly. "I'm so sorry, Stella. I should have known. I should have asked. I'm sorry." I apologized over and over again until she pinched my lips together. "Kind of hurt. Just shut up, will ya? It's not your fault. I'm glad to have you. You were one of the main reasons I stayed happy at school. I always looked forward to our meetings." "Thank you for that, Skye." I suddenly remembered her saying something important. "Why did you break into Julian's house? I get that you wanted to escape and I am happy that you did, but why now? What triggered it?" "Raymond wanted to sell my body to his friends to do whatever they wanted to me, possibly rape me, so I escaped. I ran into the woods until I saw a sign of civilization, so I dashed toward it. It happened to be Julian's house, and I am grateful that he was nice enough to help," she explained, and I nodded in understanding. I embraced her real tight. "Oh, I'm so gonna kill that bitch when I see him. How fucking dare he?" I yelled in a frustrated tone. He was worse than rogues. She hugged me back. "Thank you, Skye. I really needed a friend. Felt nice to finally tell you. I always felt guilty for not sharing that part of my life with you. What can I do without you? I know I'm awesome, no need to say it. Julian better tell her fast because I could not keep my secret from her. Especially after she told me her deepest one." "Let's just tell her," my wolf commented. "No. It's Julian's job and he better do it quickly," I replied. Chapter 18 Stella Who's Hungry? Julian asked as he put the pizza boxes on the table. He got back at 8 in the evening and I got butterflies just looking at him. We just ate, but who could say no to pizza? Isn't that right, Stella? Skye winked. I nodded. I can eat some more. Not because I'm hungry or that I like pizza. It's because I don't want to make Julian sad. He's too sweet to say no to and I need to talk with him about the kiss. Was it just to shut me up? Was he making fun of me? I'm a toy in his eyes or what? Good, now dig in, ladies. I'll take a quick shower, then I'll drive Skye to Cody's house. He wants to see you, Julian cleared, then he headed upstairs. I took a slice and watched Skye put on a mix of spices on the pizza. They were not even for pizza. That's gross, but people have different tastes, so I can't complain. Stella, are you okay? Skye's sudden question took me off guard. I looked into her eyes and saw concern, worry, and sadness. Yeah, why? She sighed. I don't know, I mean, your life was hard and I didn't know. How are you feeling? Leave your physical status aside, tell me about your mental status. Are you tired? She asked, but I felt like an arrow struck through my heart because she hit a nerve. She's right. I'm exhausted. Not just tired. Yeah, but everything will be alright. I have you, Julian, and his parents' support. I'll survive like I always do, I said. I love you, Stella, and if Julian treats you wrong in any way, though he would never, just tell me. You have my number and I have a shovel. Her indirect threat made me laugh and I felt at ease. Don't worry, he's too sweet to do that, I said, but she frowned. If only you'd know, she whispered, but I got confused. What did she mean? Was Julian not sweet? Was it an act? What do you mean? I was cut off by Julian's sudden appearance. He glared at Skye, probably because she said something she was not supposed to say, which made me worry. Okay, let's go, ladies. Stella, we will drop her at Cody's house. I'm not leaving you alone, not after yesterday's incident. He held my hand, and his touch instantly sent shivers and sparks down my spine. Felt amazing. Come on, let's go. I missed him. Skye got excited to see her boyfriend again. She really loves him. Apparently, she's living with him. After we got into Julian's Jeep, Skye started singing what was on the radio. I sat next to Julian and Skye sat in the back. It was Skye's idea for me to sit next to him, but I did not object. After 5 minutes of intense singing, Julian snapped. Skye, would you just shut up? You cannot sing to save your life. Whoever told you that you have a lovely voice was lying to make you feel better, but I'm family, so you suck. Julian's outburst shocked me, and I felt bad for her. She does have a terrible voice. I know my voice sounds like a dying cat, but I can't help it. I love singing, so suck it up and drive quietly, she replied with a sly smile, and I sighed. Now she won't ever stop. Way to go, Julian. When we arrived, Cody was already waiting outside. Hey guys, he greeted, and I shook his hand. Good evening, Cody. Please take good care of my best friend, I said, smiling, and he returned a wider smile. I saw the sincerity in his eyes. I will, he simply replied. He was a great man from what I have gathered so far, perfect for Skye. I hope to see their wedding one day. Okay, we'll be off. Cody, Julian said as we were about to leave. Tell your girl not to sing because she has an awful voice, Julian pleaded with his eyes, and Cody stiffened. He went through that before. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, Cody sighed, then Skye hit his back. Really hard. He winced in pain. What? You're supposed to be on my side, not his. I'm your girlfriend, she pouted, and I chuckled. They are so cute. But what always grabs my attention was that they always change what they wanted to say. What they are hiding. Well, it's not my place to ask. Not now, at least. Sorry, babe, I love you. Cody kissed her nose, and I melted at the sight. Skye's cheeks turned red. I could not blame her. We were suckers for romance. Bye guys, we need to go. Julian put his arm around my shoulders, and I liked how natural his touch was becoming. Is admiration at first sight a thing? We started walking to the car. What do you want to listen to? Julian asked me after we drove off home. Home? Did his house feel like home? Was I that broken? Whatever you like, I replied. Okay, then you'll love this song. He turned on the radio, and the song If You Told Me to by Hinter Hayes was on. I love this song. Hope you enjoy my singing, he said, and I looked at him, confused and worried. Don't tell me you sing like Skye, I pointed out. Oh no, I really have a good voice. That's why Skye's singing bothered me. She was so off tone, he replied, and I sighed with relief. He cleared his throat and began singing. He can sing. When he took a lift after the junction, he abruptly stopped the Jeep and I almost bumped my head on the dashboard, but he held me back. Oh shit, not now, Julian whispered under his breath. I looked at him confused, but then I looked at the road and my eyes widened. Wolves. Chapter 19. Julian, I looked at the wolves in front of us. It was not the damn time for this. She was my priority. They are not rouges, Peter stated, and I felt him enter defensive mode. I did not blame him. We did not know if they were friendly or not. We have to protect Stella, I announced, and Peter howled. They would not touch her. What should we do? Stella's question broke my conversation with Peter. I looked at her worried eyes, then I cupped her small soft face in my rather large hands. Don't worry. If you see me acting weird, please don't panic. I'll protect you. Please don't hate me after this, okay? I rubbed her cheeks with my thumbs, And she was so confused yet nodded without saying a word. How much I adore her. As I wanted to get out of the Jeep, ready to crack this shit, she grabbed my shirt. Can't we just turn back? She whispered, fearing they would make a sudden move. No, there are a lot of them and they'll follow us. I don't want to put anyone else in danger. I'll just handle them all. Have faith in me, I explained with pleading eyes. Do you speak wolf or something? She joked, but my serious expression told her that I was not in the mood for jokes. Fine, okay. I believe in you, Julian, but please stay safe and don't get too close. She gave me a quick kiss on my cheek, which sent sparks through my whole body. For a human, she was bold and I loved it. I smiled and then got out of the Jeep. Let me do the talking, Peter suggested, and I agreed. Wolves could make contact with each other even if I was in my human form, which was good because I was trying my best not to shift in front of Stella. It would scare the shit out of her. She would probably run away from me. Who are you? And what do you want? Peter asked them, and one of the big black wolves stepped forward. He had a strong aura, but he was not an alpha, that was for sure. He was more of a warrior or leader. You don't have to know us, but we need your mate over there, he responded, and I growled with fury at the mention of my Stella. No one touches a single hair from hers. Glancing at her is a sin, and they will pay for it. You will not lay a finger on her. I'll ask you again, and you better answer before I lose it. Who are you? Peter spat. I felt like I was on fire from my building rage. I needed to shift. I'll say that again. You don't need to know, we just came here to take her with us. Now move. The black wolf replied and started walking towards Stella's side. I looked at her and saw fear, trepidation, and fright. They must have been dropped on their heads when they were born to think that they could take a Luna away from her alpha. Over my dead body. I stepped in front of him and blocked his way, and when he tried to pass me, I did not let him. We need to shift, Peter ordered, and I thought about it for a second. Stella would hate me for sure, but I could not risk her safety. She was my angel whom I could not lose. She was my missing piece all these years, my everything. I would not let anyone lay a hand on her. She was mine and no one would take her away from me. Shift. That was all it took for Peter to transform. Bone cracks were heard, and loud howls became more audible. Shifting did not hurt, but it still looked frightening to humans. I looked at Stella from the corner of my eye and saw her jaw drop and her eyes wide open. Her hands went to her forehead to check if she had a fever or something, and I felt a bang in my chest. Her tears fell out of her glassy gray eyes, and I hated myself. My heart was aching from the agony of seeing her cry because of me. She was scared. No, she was terrified. Of me. I could not look at her any longer, so I turned my gaze to the now average-sized wolves. Being an alpha meant having a larger body shape and size and more authority. Alphas were much more powerful than normal wolves. I was stronger than the stronger warrior. I went through intensive training during the 2 years I spent without my mate because I needed to distract myself. I growled really loud, causing most wolves to back down a little and whimper. Alpha blood affects them. Stay back, I yelled, but they found their courage and growled back at me. I did not budge. They sounded like puppies. The black wolf decided to be the pioneer and attack first. He aimed for my neck since it was the most vulnerable part of a wolf, but I dodged him. He fell on the ground behind me with a loud thud. He must have broken a leg since he fell on a rock in an odd position. Before he could stand on all four and fight like a real warrior, I heard Stella shouting, "Julian, behind you!" She pointed and I looked behind me to see 3 wolves jumping on my back. They were heavy, but that did not stop me from taking them down. I rolled with them until 2 out of the 3 released me, but the last one was so stubborn and young. I think he was 15 or so. I did not want to hurt him, so I just shoved him off of me. I looked around me and saw 6 to 7 more wolves preparing to attack. I just kept on beating them up without killing anyone. They were young and forced to fight because of their alpha's commands, whom I would kill. They could not go against his orders, and I understood. They were not that strong, so I took them all down after a short while of fighting. I looked around me and found no wolf standing. They were either on the floor or they ran to their pack. I shifted back and grabbed clothes that were in the trunk. I got into the Jeep and started the engine without saying a word to Stella, who was staring at me like I was some creep. Well, you just shifted in front of her. Of course she'd find you creep. Peter found that it was the perfect time to comment. I ignored him and drove off to my own house. Not the pack house. It was crowded and I was done. Stella was staying in the pack's house, not mine, to adjust. I hope she did. It was time for me to speak with her properly about our kind. I hope she could handle the facts because from the looks of it, she looked like she was about to faint. Wait, she fainted. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to us and support the love between Stella and Julian.